Picture this. You're standing at the edge of a lush, vibrant marshland. Sprawling clouds overhead, the gentle rustle of leaves, the quiet babble of flowing water. Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're stepping right into that wetland to uncover a hidden universe inside a seemingly simple creature, the Indian bullfrog, or Rana tigrina. We'll be following along with Ren, a super curious 11th grade student, and Kawa, a wise, gentle river spirit who knows all the secrets of the marsh. Together, we're going to explore the absolute magic of amphibian biology.
So, sitting by the water's edge, Kawa shares this profound thought. Billions of cells work together to create a single masterpiece. You know, in a super simple organism like a hydra, you might just have a few thousand cells. But in complex animals, we're talking billions. And they don't just act randomly, they organize. Similar cells form tissues. Tissues combine to build organs, like a heart or a stomach, and those organs interact to form entire organ systems. It's this beautiful, perfectly choreographed division of labor that allows a complex creature to actually survive and thrive.
All right, let's start out with Section 1, the Symphony of Cells.
To really appreciate this symphony, we kind of have to start with the outside canvas, what we call morphology. Notice how the frog's body is really only divisible into a head and a trunk. There's no neck and no tail. Every single feature is wildly purposeful. Take those bulging eyes, for example. They're protected by a nictitating membrane, which basically acts like a built-in pair of underwater goggles. Just behind the eyes is the tympanum, a specialized membranous ear designed to catch the subtlest sounds of the marsh. And of course, those hind limbs end in 5 webbed digits, making this little traveler an absolute master swimmer.
But here's the thing. The frog's mastery of its environment goes way deeper than just its shape. Frogs are poikilotherms. That means they're cold-blooded. They don't maintain a constant body temperature like we do. Their internal thermostat literally fluctuates with the marsh. So how do they survive extreme weather? Well, Cassia reveals their magic trick. When the summer heat gets too intense, they burrow deep into the earth for estivation, which is basically a deep summer sleep. And when freezing winter hits, they do the exact same thing, called hibernation. It's a brilliant built-in survival mechanism.
Moving right along to Section 2, the Amphibian's Armor.
So how does this creature protect itself out in the open? Well, its skin is an incredible evolutionary tool. It's smooth, slippery, and kept constantly moist by mucus. That classic olive green color with dark spots? That's perfect mimicry, letting the frog completely vanish into the grass. Also, we see some fascinating sexual dimorphism here, meaning males and females look different. Males have sound-producing vocal sacs and a specific copulatory pad on their first forelimb digit. But honestly, the most magical fact, frogs literally never drink water. No, really, they absorb all the hydration they need directly through their skin, like a living sponge.
Now imagine pushing past that slippery armor into the inner biome. This is anatomy, the study of the internal organs. And what we find inside the body cavity is a marvel of biological engineering. It's like this vibrant, incredibly complex landscape, accommodating entirely distinct digestive, circulatory, respiratory, nervous, excretory, and reproductive systems.
Which brings us to Section 3, Engines of Energy.
You have to wonder how the frog fuels such a massive internal machine. Think of its digestive system like a bustling alchemical kitchen. First, a specialized bilobed tongue shoots out to capture prey. Since adult frogs are strict carnivores, their alimentary canal is surprisingly short, mostly because meat is just way easier to break down than plant matter. The food travels down a short esophagus right into the stomach, where hydrochloric acid and gastric juices get to work. This partially digested food, called chyme, then moves into the duodenum. Here, the liver steps in, providing bile to break down fats, while the pancreas adds enzymes for proteins and carbs. Finally, inside the intestine, tiny finger-like folds called villi and microvilli absorb all those essential nutrients before any waste exits through the cloaca.
But of course, to burn that fuel, you need oxygen. And the frog has this wildly cool dual nature when it comes to breathing. Underwater, it relies on cutaneous respiration. Dissolved oxygen simply diffuses right through its highly vascularized skin. But hop out onto land and it switches over to pulmonary respiration. Air gets drawn into the nostrils, moves through the buccal cavity, and inflates a pair of elongated, pink, sac-like lungs in the thorax. It is a completely seamless transition between two entirely different ways of breathing.
Now for Section 4, the Rivers of Life.
Once those nutrients and oxygen are secured, they have to be transported everywhere. Kawa calls this the most breathtaking machinery in the marshland, the closed circulatory system. And the magic number here is 3. The frog has a 3-chambered heart.
Think of it as a rhythmic, muscular watermill tucked in the upper body cavity, protected by a membrane called the pericardium. It's got 2 atria up top to receive blood and just 1 ventricle below to pump it out. Blood flows into the right atrium through a cool triangular structure called the sinus venosus and gets pumped out of the ventricle through the conus arteriosus. It is a relentless, beautiful engine driving life through the frog's veins.
Let's pause for a second and just visualize this. Imagine a glowing, specialized network of veins acting as a direct, hidden aqueduct right between the intestine and the liver. This is the hepatic portal system. It's basically an evolutionary shortcut, allowing the liver to process nutrients straight from the gut before that blood joins the main circulation.
And right alongside that, you have the renal portal system. This one channels blood from the lower body directly into the kidneys. It's just so elegant when you think about it. These are vital rivers of energy. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Flowing through these rivers are red blood cells that are uniquely nucleated, meaning they actually have a nucleus, carrying that vital red pigment, hemoglobin.
All right, let's dive into Section 5, Control and Coordination. With all these complex systems running at once, how does it not turn into complete chaos? Well, the frog has a highly evolved neural network to keep everything synchronized. The central nervous system features a brain safely locked inside a bony cranium, a brain box, which then continues down into the spinal cord. The brain has distinct zones. The forebrain handles smell and higher functions. The midbrain takes care of vision, and the hindbrain manages balance and automatic functions. Radiating out from this command center is the peripheral nervous system, and remarkably, it includes exactly 10 pairs of cranial nerves that act as lightning-fast messengers to coordinate the whole show.
So, the frog actually balances 2 totally different types of control. On one hand, you've got the nervous system we just talked about, providing immediate electrical coordination. On the other hand, you have the endocrine glands, like the pituitary, thyroid, and adrenals. These release chemical messengers called hormones. Kawa makes a great comparison here. Neural signals are like sudden strikes of lightning, prompting instant reactions. Hormones, though, they're more like the slow, shifting tides of a river, orchestrating long-term harmony, metabolism, and growth.
Naturally, running an engine this complex produces waste. That's where the excretory filter comes in. The system relies on a pair of compact, dark red, bean-like kidneys situated near the spine. These kidneys are packed with thousands of tiny filtering units called nephrons. They pull nitrogenous waste out of the bloodstream and convert it into urea, which makes the frog a ureotelic animal. From there, the urea travels down ducts called ureters and is eventually expelled out through that multi-purpose exit, the cloaca.
And finally, Section 6, the cycle of life.
As our journey through the marsh winds down, we have to look at how this masterpiece sustains the wetlands for future generations. Frogs have beautifully distinct reproductive systems. In the male, you'll find a pair of yellowish, oval-shaped testes attached to the kidneys. They route sperm through tiny tubules into Bitter's canal and out through the urinogenital duct. Meanwhile, the female system features ovaries located near the kidneys, but interestingly, they have no functional connection to them. The eggs travel down their own separate oviducts. But ultimately, both systems utilize that single cloacal opening to release life out into the exterior world.
And the scale of this is just awe-inspiring. A single mature female can lay between 2,500 and 3,000 ova, or eggs, at one single time. Because fertilization is entirely external, it all takes place right there in the gentle currents of the marsh water. From those eggs hatches an aquatic, gill-breathing tadpole. And then, through the absolute magic of metamorphosis, that tadpole slowly loses its tail, sprouts limbs, develops lungs, and finally emerges as the land-dwelling adult frog we've been exploring today.
Which leaves us with one final thought. Frogs aren't just these incredible anatomical wonders. They're absolutely essential to us. They eat pest insects, literally protecting the crops we rely on, and they serve as a massive foundational link in the food web. So I'll leave you with the same question Kawa asks Ren. What would the marshland be without its masterpiece? It really highlights the deep reverence we owe to the frog, a complex wonder of biology that beautifully balances an entire ecological system. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey, and honestly, I hope you never look at a frog the same way again.